interesting session is very special to me because I've always been super interested in marketing automation because that's what helps companies scale, right, after a particular point. We can't have anyone better than Maneeza Aminy join us today in our session. I'll give a quick intro and quick brief about Maneeza, and then the stage is hers. Maneeza Aminy is the CEO of Marvel Marketers, which is an award-winning global digital marketing agency. Has offices globally everywhere from San Mateo, CA, Austin, Texas, Belfast, Northern Ireland, Sao Paulo, Brazil, etc. She's been voted as the Entrepreneur of the Year in 2020, and she and her team have led marketing strategy and digital transformation for some of the largest logos in the world. Serving as an advisor to several Silicon Valley firms, Maneeza is a thought leader, speaker, and an industry evangelist. Thank you for joining us today, Maneeza. And I'm going to go out of the limb here a little bit and say that this, I think, is going to be the best session of the day. Over to you.
I like that. I like a good challenge, and hopefully it will be. So just doing a quick check. You guys can see me. You can see the screen, correct? You guys can see everything, yes. Okay?
I can. Great. And if just a quick disclaimer, if any of you have any questions, anything to add, you can go onto the chat section. If there are any issues in visibility of the screen or our audios, please go ahead and let us know. We'll see what we can do to fix that.
Okay, thank you. So my objective here, the hardest thing for me in this presentation will be to stay on time, because once I get started, I like to continue discussing this industry because I'm very passionate about it. So Vikrant, if you could just let me know whenever you want me to stop, and we can open it up for Q&A. So I'm very excited to be invited here to speak with you guys today to talk about something that I've been really living and breathing for almost 12 years now. So first, thank you for the gracious introduction. I'll just add a few more things. I have some very deep roots in SaaS and specifically in this industry. I was employee number 42 at Salesforce. That was just lucky because I was really young, but I was employee 60 at Marketo. And that was not me being lucky. I actually thought that went through. And so I have a vantage point that really, some good timing, a little bit of luck, and a good vantage point. I also was an econ professor for 10 years, which helped me tremendously in the marketing automation space. And more than all of that stuff, which, you know, is nice to say, I myself have a career in consulting. So before I was a CEO, I actually worked with over 300 clients in the industry on their marketing automation efforts. And I have a core objective today for you guys, which is the biggest problem statement I saw in organizations trying to think through how do I adopt marketing automation? And that's to help prepare you for what you actually need to know about the role of marketing automation, not just in your marketing, but eventually in your digital transformations. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish, as well as making this the best session you've been in. So now that I've gotten that additional goal. So that's me, but I actually run Marvel Marketers, and Marvel Marketers is a lot more than just me. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew who we were. We were graciously introduced, we do work on marketing automation. It is our core competency. It's what started everything. However, we learned very quickly that digital transformation and marketing automation is more than just a platform. So certainly we support all of the platforms, but once you put the tool in place, you then have to also work on the strategies and the reporting and the data and content writing, which becomes quite important, experience management. And so over the last, we're going into our 8th year, we've actually expanded our services to be full suite, not necessarily because it's what we were like, oh, we should do that. It's because it became necessary to make marketing automation and digital transformation successful for some of the largest organizations in the world. And the other thing about us that I want you guys to know that is part of our identity is very early on, we started a nonprofit called Impact. It is our foundation. And what we do is we make sure that part of the work that we do gives back to others. We've done lots of things, blood drives, we've supported refugees, we've helped foster children. I mean, it's something that I'm very proud of and my team is very proud of. So whether it's relevant or not, I present it in every presentation I can. I also wanted to take a moment and give my condolences to anyone who's currently being impacted in India because of the COVID crisis, or if you're currently going through anything, I wanted to just make sure we address that, and I wish the best for everyone there. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Why should anyone care about marketing automation? Why do you have to care? Why do you have to come to a session on it? Why can't we just, it's not like marketing is new. People have been doing marketing for an extremely long time. So why did this become a thing? Why did it get so much momentum? Why is it worthy of having a session on? I love data, as I mentioned to you guys. So I'm going to show you some statistics. And this is just a small list of statistics that are compelling. 70 to 90% of all buying and selling happens before your buyer's ever in front of you. If you doubt that statistic, think through how much stuff you buy online without ever talking to the company in person. Think about how you shop today. And this is true for B2B and also B2C. Businesses that implement marketing automation experience an average of 451% increase in qualified leads. Sometimes that has nothing to do with marketing automation, in my experience. It just has to do with, for the first time ever, you can actually measure it. And that in itself is a win. Nurturing through marketing automation saw 15 to 20% increase in purchases from and conversions to sales. The fourth bullet is actually straight from Marketo. 44% of companies that implement marketing automation see a return on investment within 6 months and 76 within a first year. That is a very, very, very deep bullet, because the question is, what is return on investment? And that answer is different for every company depending on the use case for which they bought marketing automation. And according to Serious,
I have a
yes,
quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the video share isn't working right now. Can you please test that once?
Video share in terms of the presentation?
The presentation, yeah, the presentation.
Okay, yeah, let me reshare real quick for you.
Sure.
So I'm going to stop sharing. Can you see me?
No, I can't see the presentation yet.
Can you see me? Is the video?
Yeah, I can see you. I can see you. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to reshare.
Sure.
Share screen, share. And let me know if you can see the presentation again.
Yes, now we can. Great, we're good to go.
Okay,
sorry for the interruption.
No worries at all. So I was just on the last bullet, which is that according to Serious Decisions, 85% of companies thought their biggest problem was that they didn't know if they were using marketing automation correctly or not, or to the fullest capabilities. So what is the point of all this? At the end of the day, marketing automation, which is a subset of digital transformation and digital strategy, is not an optional strategy. You can't opt out of it. There was a lot of actually pushback initially in the industry when this stuff came out, where people were like, well, I don't know if it's for us. It looks too complicated. We meet our goals. Today, it is no longer optional. If you need any more evidence of it, think about COVID. Before COVID, your dominant marketing strategy could very well have been live events. That could have worked for you. Post-COVID, it became a forcing agent for digital strategy. So if you hadn't adopted it before COVID, all COVID did was accelerate the need for an adoption of this strategy. If you are not opting, you don't really even have an option to opt in. So it's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when, and then more importantly, how, doing it successfully. So one of the biggest problems my clients constantly had when they were talking to me about marketing automation is that they would hear a buzzword in the industry, like they'd hear nurture, or they'd hear real-time personalization, or lead lifecycle, or funnel, or some word that somebody wrote an article about, and they would think that that is marketing automation. The truth of the matter is that marketing automation is a lot. It's a very, very big, complex, deep topic. And so I took the time to categorize the different families of topics for your marketing automation adoption. I sorted them for you. And then more importantly, these percentages are my recommendation for you in your first year. In your first year, this is really how you should be spending your time. 50% of your time should be on the actual strategy, answering questions like, so how will I measure ROI? What am I trying to accomplish? What are my control groups? How will my marketing change? And that falls in this category. What will I be able to measure today that I was not able to measure before? And then 20% of your time has to focus on scale. And that's when you look at things like lead scoring or lead lifecycle or database management, segmentation. And then 10% of your time should be on innovation. And that might seem counterintuitive. But what happens is with a lot of clients, they bought the tool because of innovation. They saw something really fancy in there and they bought it. And because they didn't invest the time on the scale piece, on the strategy piece, would fail because about 6 months in, the CMO would say, so why aren't we doing real-time personalization? Not realizing that even the data takes time to populate, the systems need to be reconfigured and integrated, data needs to be configured for automation, nurture needs to be strategized, etc. And then this last bottom right piece is your first world request, which is if you can, the right thing to do is to spend 20% of your time communicating. Because depending on what organization I walked into, especially in the earlier stages, different organizations had a different education level about marketing automation. So some organizations, the CMO would be very invested and would understand, and the team didn't get it and just thought the CMO was making them do something. In other organizations, the team was getting it and they had to spend all their time trying to explain to their CMO why they were doing things they were trying to do. So 20% of your time is making sure that there's a common denominator of culture and understanding around digital transformation and marketing in your organization. If you do not do this part right, what happens in 6 months to 1 year, inevitably, a financial profile in your organization will say, why is this line item so expensive? Because they don't know what it's for, and they will immediately point to it, and the whole project becomes at risk. The other thing that happens 6 months to 1 year in is, again, whatever the reason was that the organization bought the tool, predictive, so whatever fancy kind of part it was, they're going to start asking for ROI of it. And then it will feel as if you are not being successful, even though you probably are. And what are we on time already? 9:27. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, so I built this visual for a client once. And the question I was answering when I built this was, what are all the different areas and order that you actually build a marketing automation ecosystem? Because a lot of people think it's one tool. They think, oh, I bought Marketo, I bought HubSpot, I bought Pardot, whatever that is. The truth of the matter is this visual here is what your organization will look like depending on how fast you move, 3 to 5 years in the future. So you won't just have like a Marketo Salesforce sync or a scoring campaign or a nurture. What will happen is you're going to have problem statements in your organization where you have to organize, configure, and implement sometimes third-party tools. You're going to have a whole new set of reporting and metrics that now you can actually read. And that's actually not the hard part. The hard part is, so what do I do with it? What do I do now with program performance report when we've never measured program attribution before? And then you want to work on program and marketing strategy, where you answer questions like, okay, how is our marketing going to change as a result of these systems and tools? Lead lifecycle experience management, and then, of course, testing and strategy. And then there's the pieces everyone forgets, that if you are a global enterprise, like if you're a very large organization, absolutely will come back and haunt you later, which is, how do we actually govern all of this? How do we make sure we onboard and enable new employees? How do we make sure we build industry expertise? How do we scale this? And so this visual shows you the actual complexity. And if you're not careful and you don't plan out how you're going to adopt automation, what happens is you try to do all of this all at once and you can't boil the ocean. And that's when organizations get overwhelmed. Vikram, how are we on time?
Doing great. We have about 7 more minutes.
Okay, I'll go through the examples I have, and then I'd like to open it up for Q&A, which is always my favorite part. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys, once you have the technology part in place, and a famous quote we used to say when I was at Marketo, we had one quote everyone would say, and then I had one I made up myself. The first quote that everyone would say was that, the tool is not the strategy. The tool is just a tool. I talked just yesterday, and I'm in California in Silicon Valley. So we're very, very advanced in this, meaning like we're ahead of as much as we can be. Yesterday, I had a conversation with an organization who said, so how do I measure the ROI of Marketo? And I asked the question, well, how do you measure the ROI of your Salesforce instance? And they said, what do you mean? Salesforce is just the CRM system. I said, exactly. No one asked that question. So similarly, Marketo or HubSpot or whatever marketing automation tool you're using is not your strategy. It's the enabler of a new strategy. And so once you actually have the tools in place, you have the right tools, now you can build something more interesting. And so I just wanted to show you an example of when we say marketing automation. The automation part means that you don't have to do a workflow like this manually. While every piece still gets created, you get functionality like cloning, like triggers, like listening campaigns, like scoring, which allow you to plan this out way in advance, invest the effort, build your tests in, and actually run it. And I wanted to show you an actual use case that I worked on myself years ago, but still quite relevant. So we actually worked on a full funnel nurture plan for 5 unique audiences. And already think about it, right? If you don't have marketing automation in place, how are you going to do anything for 5 unique audiences easily without the ability to clone and take advantage of tokens, et cetera? It's a lot of work. And so we created a master storyboard. The copy was written for over 60 emails. 12 email nurtures were built for 5 audiences. So you can imagine we actually populated that visual you just saw. And the results were we had an increase of 3.5% of click to open ratio. The open rate went to 23%. And you have to be careful with metrics because, if I was in the audience, I'd ask the question, is 23 good or bad? Is 23 a good number or is it a bad number? What's the industry average? Industry average technically for this segment was like 14%, but even that doesn't matter because there's some open rates which are going to be different depending on who's sending it. So always be careful when you see a metric, even my metrics, just always make sure you ask your questions. We were able to grow the subscriber base by 11%, 10,000 new subscribers, 2.6 million of sales pipeline influenced. We, blew out the goal. Really easy, great use case results. And I'd love to tell you that what we did is we plugged in Marketo and then these results came out, but that's not true. Sometimes the win of automation is simply even being able to measure these things. And if you don't have the right tools in place, you could be performing this well and not be able to easily measure it. And with that, so with that, I put together some benchmark questions for you. I have some additional slides, but I knew I would run out of time. So I know there's at least one poll we will ask you, but I'm going to figure out how to get you guys this benchmark. So how you know whether you're actually adopting marketing automation correctly, which is one of the most common questions that get asked about 6 months to 1 year into a purchase, will allow you to benchmark yourself here, and then you can actually answer the same questions again in 6 months to a year. Here's the best question on here. There's 2 best questions. So I guess there's 2 best questions. One is, do you have at least 5 benchmarks that you're measuring against? Do you have 5 things that you know is your success metric that you're measuring after the adoption of marketing automation? Because if you have that, you now have your presentation for your CMO. The second really important question that helps you is if my CMO gave me or cut $1 million from my budget, would I know what to do next? Do I know which programs are least effective, which ones are most effective? Do I know which channels are giving me the most new names or generating the largest opportunity sizes? If you don't know those questions and you get $1 million cut or given to you, you're not set up quite correctly yet to really harness the power of some of this technology. So we'll make sure you get this. And I have some additional slides, but I'd much rather open it up for questions because that's usually my favorite thing to do in any presentation. So I'm going to stop presenting.
Thank you so much, Maneeza. This has been truly insightful. What we'll also do is we'll share the benchmark, that slide with everybody, so everyone can kind of test their automation systems as well. We'll jump into Q&A now. We have a couple of questions. I'll just pick them as I see them. What's the future of emails in marketing automation?
The future of email, it's interesting. The answer to that varies depending on where you are in the world. So in my side of the world, again, I'm exactly 24 hours. I think we measured it. Different from you guys. The challenge is email exhaustion. The challenge is how do you cut through all the noise? So the focus of email is going to be on the content, right? Now, the farther you go to the right in the world, at least on a map that's flat, the farther you go east, the question changes because you guys have a lot less email fatigue for various reasons. Some of it is adoption. Some of it is you guys had compliance rules in place. So the actual challenge there is not going to be the same as this side of the world. The challenge there will more likely be, how do I increase and personalize an experience someone is having with my brand with email nurture? And depending on where you are on the map, it's going to fall somewhere in between those two answers.
Got it. So it's primarily depends on what content you have within the email and the kind of personalization you have in order to kind of address them better. Do you think there are any tools that could help in we'll keep the delivery side of emails aside, but from a content and personalization standpoint, anything that comes to mind that can help in improving the experience of an email?
I'd love to tell you that if you purchase X technology, it will improve it for you. But that's not the trick, right? The trick here is to actually make sure you are listening to your audience. So a lot of times we would work with clients and they say, well, what's the best practice in the industry? And I tell them the best practice is your best practice. And if you don't know what your, let's say, tone should be in an email, if you don't know what messaging is right for your audience, you literally have tools in place like marketing automation, which let you A/B test and iterate and narrow down. And the smallest things make huge differences. Like I remember early in the industry, we showed 350% increases in conversion on forms because we changed the color of a button. Really small things that you're able to explicitly test data-driven insights into versus your opinion. Because without those metrics, it's everyone's opinion on what it is that the audience actually needs to hear.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. This is a really interesting question. How do you learn marketing automation without a job, since all companies are asking for experience, but no one really teaches them?
Yeah, so I'm not, so one thing I didn't tell you about Marvel Marketers is I don't have a sales team. And I also don't have a marketer right now, ironically. The reason I'm sharing this is I don't want you to think I'm trying to sell anything right now. I'm telling you what I did to solve the problem, because I kept hearing that in the interview process when I was trying to hire people early on myself. The problem is that you need an instance to learn. But you can't have an instance unless you're working in an organization that has an instance. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Correct. So there's actually trainings, and we built an academy. I have a training academy where
wonderful.
We have an instance. Yeah, we have an instance. Now it's it's got a price and all of that. But here's what I recommend if you have a budget of $0. Okay, if you have a budget of $0, which I think is a better way to answer this, there is tons of free material out there. Tons of free material. And I would say that the free material out there is at the same caliber of first level trainings that might be priced. First level, maybe not second, maybe not third. So I highly recommend you take advantage of what is out there. If you don't know anything, go subscribe to some really good blogs out there. Marketo has a great blog. HubSpot has a great blog. There's there's Terminus, there's Demand Base. These organizations have great thought leadership blogs. So at minimum, once you start engaging, you're going to learn the taxonomy, you're going to learn the strategies, you're going to learn what people are talking about. And then, that there is a step of getting access to the system. That is absolutely true. And again, we solved it one way for and it wasn't just for the industry, but it was also for our own consultants. We'd hire them in and we had to figure out how to train them. So, which is why we built the solution for ourselves. But that is a real problem.
Yep. Yes. Thank you so much. We'll take one last question since we're almost out of time. What are your thoughts on account-based marketing and automation that supports that?
So two separate questions, kind of, because account-based marketing is not new. people have been doing it the entire time marketing has existed. I used to go on site with clients for like 3 days and I talked to them about marketing automation. And inevitably, by the end of the third day, a sales leader would say, well, this is all really nice, but we work off of target lists, which is basically account-based marketing. It's account-centric, right? So it's not new. Anything you can automate is always useful. However, there's a trade-off between adopting a tool that is not a dominant strategy in your org. So for example, if your organization, 90% of what you do is lead and contact centric, and 10% of what you do is account centric, you have, let's say, some specialized campaigns, you don't necessarily need a tool to enable that. There's nothing, having a tool is not a barrier to doing account-based marketing as a strategy. I'll say it like that.
Fair point. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think we're right about done with our time for the day. Thank you so much, Maneeza, for joining us. This has been wonderful. If there are any more questions, we'll probably tweet it back to you and we can respond and see how to figure that part out.
Sure. If anyone has additional questions, you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. Like I said, it just flew by for me. Hopefully it did for you too. And I want you guys to make sure you tell everyone this was the best session.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to do that.